They've always been wrong about me. I love. I get scared. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
Your choices. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
I can honestly say that James Gunn's Superman was the best movie experience I've had in a while. I don't remember the last time that a movie I saw made me happy the way that this movie did, that made me hopeful for the future. It reminded me of what I love so much about superheroes and comic book movies in general. I don't want more cameos or bigger stakes in every single movie. I just want heroes that we can relate to and be inspired by. Heroes with values that make them stand above society as someone to admire. It felt for so long like the DCEU was really just concerned with special effects and big set pieces before even actually concerning themselves with their characters and what makes them special. But finally, we've come back to what it should have been like from the start. We got a movie with the camp of Spider-Man 2, the heart of Guardians of the Galaxy, and the visuals straight from Superman the Animated Series. Every part of this movie is such a clear love letter from James Gunn to Superman and all of DC. With every choice made, whether it's the visuals, or the music, or the performances, everyone who worked on this movie has such a profound love and appreciation for the character of Superman, and it just makes me so incredibly happy that we're living in a time where we can see this type of superhero movie make a comeback. This movie takes these characters and puts them in a world that is just as fantastical as them, without worrying about the bounds of our reality. The visuals for Superman flying really makes you feel like you're there with him. Him punching a guy's teeth out and having it hit the camera is something straight out of a comic book panel, and the laser spin he does was just incredible. There's such a sense of mysticism when seeing the movie, and that's what superhero movies have been missing in recent years. Superheroes used to mean something. They used to be exciting and inspiring and out of this world. I mean, it took us 20 years to get the classic Wolverine suit because studios thought it was lame and embarrassing, but that's exactly what fans wanted. We want to feel the same way we did about superheroes when we were kids. We want to get back to that sense of wonder and awe. I love a great grounded comic book movie like Iron Man, or The Dark Knight, or The Batman, but with a character like Superman, having a more grounded setting is almost limiting for him. That's why I love what James Gunn is doing with this world, filling it with so many characters and creatures that show us just how big the world of this new cinematic universe is. I love the inclusion of each member of the Justice Gang and the way they all play off of one another, but Mr. Terrific was really, well, terrific. Not only is he the one who steps up to help Clark, but he gets his moment in the spotlight when he fights the Raptors with little effort needed, and I just love this sequence so much. Besides, Eddie Gathegi was able to make up for how dirty he was done in X-Men First Class. He deserved it. It's obviously very reminiscent of Yondu's segment in Guardians Part 2, and that's absolutely a compliment to James Gunn's directing style. I'm glad that James keeps taking characters that aren't well known by the general public and turning them into fan favorites that we want to see again. Sure, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho could have been a bit more fleshed out, but even with what we saw from them, they were a lot of fun to watch together, so I can't really complain. I really enjoyed how absolutely hateful Nicholas Hoult is as Lex. He is just the complete opposite of Superman, being fueled by pure rage, hatred, and envy. He's probably my favorite rendition of Lex Luthor in a live-action film yet. He's the perfect antagonist for such a hopeful and loving Superman, so he was a perfect addition to the movie. I also loved how Lois being a reporter leads to an interesting back and forth conversation with her and Superman about what should have been done by involving himself in a war. Obviously she's on his side, but because of the nature of politics, she questions the choices he made, which to him obviously weren't above saving people. I think it was a good use of her character to both admire Clark, but also challenge the way he does things, so they have a more compelling dynamic throughout the movie. David Corenswet himself does such a great job as Superman, showing how vulnerable he can be, how passionate he is about Earth, and how important his mission to protect is to him. He is the embodiment of the hero who loves humanity and finds it so beautiful, and only dreams to create a world where everyone can feel the same way that he does. He brings such a fun, wholesome nature to the character, and I think that he was perfectly cast for the role. Overall, I think that we needed a return to formula. Superhero movies became too much about the action, or how many people you can recognize from other movies, or how gritty you can make a campy comic book character. Seeing the hate online from people that can't move on from the Snyder films is just deeply sad to me because they don't realize that this is exactly what the character should have been from the beginning. I think Man of Steel has great visuals and awesome soundtrack, and I especially think that Henry Cavill was an amazing choice to play Superman. He looks like a comic book hero, and I only wish that he had been given the opportunity that David was given with this film. But when you take a character that is all about equality, peace, and hope, and you turn him into a character that is less colorful, worshipped like a god, and careless about who lives or dies, you get away from what the character's supposed to be. I think that this new Superman has been a bright light to remind us of what we had been missing from a superhero movie for so long. I think we all really need a colorful, optimistic, compassionate hero now more than ever. One that isn't ashamed of his roots, that doesn't try to change himself to fit our world, but only asks to be accepted by a society that views kindness and optimism as old-fashioned. So what is it about James Gunn's interpretation of the character that makes it so special to me? Superman has always fought for his dream of a world where everyone shows compassion to one another. His mission in life is to create a world where everyone can treat each other with equality. I understand that not every single hero is going to be cheerful all the time, especially when so many have such tragic backstories. But when it comes to Superman, we need to see that he's the poster boy for hope and, most importantly, compassion. The thing that makes Superman special isn't how infinitely strong he is, but how compassionate he is despite the amount of strength he possesses. He doesn't choose to rule with an iron fist, or be praised like a god, but instead be a friend to all who need one. That's what made the Christopher Reeve films so special in the first place, because he was the complete embodiment of a true friend. A real hero that wanted to protect the people of the planet that he loves so much more than anything. You looked at him and you felt how compassionate he was and how he stood for all that is good in the face of evil. He formed the entire concept of who Superman is supposed to be for an entire generation, and we can still feel the impact of his performance to this day. Now, after seeing the new film, I can say that David's Superman absolutely lives up to those ideals, feeling such deep care for the people around him and needing to do everything he can to protect them. To Superman, preserving life holds importance over anything else. Comparing Superman and Man of Steel, where he's smashing through multiple buildings, to this Superman who is doing everything in his power to protect everyone and cause minimal damage, is just complete night and day. In every situation that he ends up in, his number one priority is to make sure that the people around him are safe, because he finds life to be precious. There's this one line in the movie that I thought was a bit silly when I heard it, but I realized by the end of the movie just how right it was. And it's when Lois and Clark are talking about their differences, how Lois questions everything and everyone, while Clark trusts everyone and thinks they're all beautiful. And Clark says, "Maybe that's the real punk rock." And I think that is just the perfect way to sum up Superman's character. So what if everyone else thinks that kindness and compassion are old-fashioned? Maybe some people think that everyone should stay in their lane, worrying about their own problems and keeping theirs to themselves. But to Superman, showing others love and opening yourself up to be vulnerable is the real way to rebel. By rejecting the idea that society has placed upon us that those different from us should be rejected, that you are alone in the world, but you can choose to rise above that. You can lend a helping hand and in turn be helped. That's how you break through to other people and you start to make the world a better place. That is what Superman stands for. I just love how unapologetically caring Superman is, whether it's taking time to spend time with all the kids who admire him, or making sure a dog is out of the way of a giant kaiju, or literally saving a squirrel. But the sequence in the pocket dimension just showcases how deeply Superman cares. Superman didn't even need to have a family member or a loved one or even another superhero threatened to be interrogated. Lex just picked a random civilian who gave Superman food once, and that was enough to torture him. He knows that Superman can't stand to see anyone hurt and uses this against him. Seeing someone who showed the compassion and empathy that he wishes for everyone be taken out just to spite him broke Superman. After Metamorpho sees how much Superman cares for others, he sees how truly good Superman is and asks for his help to save his son, and Superman doesn't for 1 second stop thinking about the baby's safety. Then, despite being attacked from every angle and going towards a black hole, he does everything he can to keep everyone safe in that moment. On top of that, this scene just looks beautiful. It's another signature James Gunn colorful, slow-mo set piece, and it works to show just how Superman is doing his best to protect any and all life. This movie gives us a Superman who is not defined by how powerful he is, but by how he uses that power in order to defend and stand up for the people around him. He was raised on this planet like anyone else, and he was surrounded by two of the most loving parents anyone could ask for, and so he shares that love that he was surrounded by throughout his life with the rest of the world. Superman is there to be that friend that we can all count on. The person who will fight for peace even when we can't, no matter how difficult that might seem. Throughout the movie, Superman is questioned, he's beaten down, he's brought to his lowest, and I think that was the smartest choice to make. Superman is arguably one of the strongest characters in fiction, and sure, he's not a weakling in this movie, but he does take a beating. But it's clear from what the movie says that this is really the first time that this has happened to Clark. He'd never lost a fight up until that point. But in this movie, he's faced with opponents who are equally matched, faced with a super genius hell-bent on destroying him, and on top of that, he is forced to face the reality-shattering truth of why he was really sent to Earth. For a hero that was so clear in his mission to protect, he was supposedly exposed to be the child of parents who were fully willing to terminate anyone not willing to worship their rulers, and this destroys Superman. Everything he had believed to be true, everything he fought for, seemed to be a lie. Everything he believed in was thrown away. But was it really? He may have come from Krypton, but he was raised by two loving parents on Earth. Jonathan and Martha Kent were the two people who took him in, raised him as their own, gave him the values that he's held for his entire life. That's exactly why I love the Kents so much in this film, because they're the ones that bring him out of this spiral he goes through, reminding him of who he himself has chosen to be. The scene from this movie that really sticks with me was when Clark sits on the porch with Pa Kent and they have a heart-to-heart. He understands that Clark is feeling the guilt put on him by a father he never even got the chance to meet. One that he thought had sent him to protect and defend, but instead was out to conquer the planet Clark had come to love so much. But what Clark isn't seeing is that it was never about what his Kryptonian parents thought should be his mission, what he was destined to do, but instead what he chose to do with his abilities. What he felt was the right thing to do after years of being raised by hard-working, honest, and compassionate parents. Now, Jonathan knows that they could never have made him be that way. A parent's job is just to try and lead their child on the right path. But ultimately, it was Clark's choice to be Superman. It was his choice to stand up for these beliefs and express such love and compassion to the world, and that's what makes Clark who he is. He isn't perfect, the people around him aren't perfect. Some are even as evil and hateful as Lex Luthor, but that doesn't matter to him. What matters is choosing to take the difficult path, to choose kindness and compassion and try to be better, despite making mistakes. That's the biggest trait that this Superman shows, a completely optimistic spirit. He's still one of us, he still feels sadness and loss and fear, but he always finds his way back to being a beacon of hope. He wants to inspire others to make the right choices, to be better than they were before and open up to one another. Deciding to move forward, despite all the hardship and struggle that each and every one of us faces every day, that's our greatest strength. Superman shows us what we could be in a perfect world, one that we might never have, but one that he'll never stop fighting for. He'll use every last breath he has to keep trying to make his dream of a kinder, more loving world become a reality, and I think that's exactly what Superman was supposed to be. The feeling that was present from the moment this movie started to when I left the theater was hope. The hope that Clark wishes upon the world, the hope he has for himself to become a better person, and for us, the hope for the future of the new DCU. Whether or not you love this movie, you think it's alright, or it wasn't your cup of tea, we should all be grateful that we're getting DC projects that stay true to the spirit of its characters and remind us what made these characters great in the first place. I'd like to pretend that I don't care, that I'm just happy to have this bright, fun, and impactful movie about probably the most caring hero that DC has to offer, but when this same compassionate story is getting hate online because it's cringe, or stupid, or childish, it does upset me. We should be happy that we're getting a hero that rises above what society views as cool or mature and does what's right, that chooses love and compassion over vengeance and hate. Especially in times when things are so difficult, it's just refreshing to see a hero who sees that maybe life doesn't have to be that way. There's so many things that I absolutely loved about this movie, but I think the lesson that we can all take away from it is this. Despite what the world can think, what society can think, what your friends may think, we all need to take the steps needed to improve our world. We make mistakes, we may not always feel strong, but there's always a way to get back up, a way to show compassion to those around us, to be kind to someone, and to inspire hope. Maybe that's the real punk rock. For my own personal experience with this movie, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. For most people, I think it'll land somewhere between 8 and 10, though there's still so many that just outright dislike this movie, but ultimately it's whatever you think is best. I absolutely love this movie, and it only makes me more excited for what movies are coming in the future of DC. I just hope that this movie can show other directors how to properly maintain their characters' values and have them be properly represented in their films moving forward. Let me know how you felt about the movie. I know it might not have been perfect, but feel free to say what you loved, what could have been better, and what you think I should talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you made it this far, and be on the lookout for more videos like this one. With that out of the way, I'll catch you next time.